Welcome outside Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert analyst for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. All right, Chris, there was no holding back from Robert Kraft here on Wednesday. The very first press conference of 2015 training camp was not from Bill Belichick, as a lot of people anticipated. It was from Robert Kraft. He came out swinging after the NFL and Roger Goodell upheld Tom Brady's 4-game suspension on Tuesday. Robert Kraft didn't mince words. He called it unfathomable. He thought he threw his unequivocal support behind the Patriots star quarterback, and he said, look, we're going to go to the mat with Tom Brady this time around. We apologize to the fans for backing off in May. And your thoughts on what it means for Robert Kraft to come out in support of Tom Brady here on Wednesday?
I think the biggest takeaway was the mea culpa. He performed, basically saying, look, I sided with the wrong people in this case. When you're talking about whether or not I should have gone with the owners and Roger Goodell, I decided to go that way in May because I thought it would be better for the league. I thought it would be better for the franchise because it's more important, the interest of the 32, the phrase that he used back then, more important than the interest of the one team. I think now in retrospect he wishes he may not have made that decision. I think the language that he used today made it very, very clear the direction in which he is intended to go. I now am fascinated to see whether or not this means he is going to try and get the draft picks back, get the $1 million fine back, what this all means at least from a legal perspective. But today, he basically said, look, I'm sorry, I chose the wrong guys, I chose the wrong camp, and that's what he came out here and said. And it's going to be interesting, not only legally again, but what what he decides to do from a legal perspective, how he decides to pursue this, what sort of support he's going to be throwing behind Tom Brady as he goes through the rest of this process.
I think the biggest takeaway was, from my point of view in the football aspect of things, is that he really took a lot of the heat off Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady said, I own this now. A lot of people on Tuesday were saying Tom Brady had to come out swinging and say, I did nothing wrong. And Brady essentially did that Wednesday morning with his 4 or 5 paragraph post on his own Facebook page. But this was ratcheting up a whole nother level of the story with Robert Kraft coming out and swinging at the NFL. I tweeted on Twitter that this is Robert Kraft's Al Davis moment. He is taking on the NFL. And I don't think Al Davis ever used the kind of language, the confrontational language, that Robert Kraft used here on Wednesday.
That's a great phrase to use for it. He used very confrontational language. This whole process, it's been kind of ebbs and flows as it relates to the owner. You talk about what he was able to do through the early part of the process. He threw his unequivocal support behind Tom Brady. Super Bowl week, he basically laid all his cards on the table. He kind of decided to back off a little bit at the league meetings, the owners' meetings out in San Francisco in May. Now he's decided to kind of take it to another level. Again, I'm fascinated to see what he's going to end up doing, at least from a legal perspective, what course of action he decides to pursue at this point. But I think the Al Davis comparison, at least as it stands right now, is a fair one. I wrote this today for WEEI.com. It's no longer about the 32 teams, at least in the eyes of Robert Kraft. It's basically every man for himself right now as it relates to the plate game.
All right, and Bill Belichick, if you're wondering, issued no surprise announcements or declarations. Yes, we're on the 2015 training camp, getting ready for the season. What I did find interesting, and wrote about this on the It Is What It Is blog on WEEI.com, is that we're not going to talk about Deflategate at all. It is not neither here nor there. Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo will be part of the quarterback competition, but we will not be distracted by it. 2 players, 2 captains spoke here on Wednesday. Devin McCourty, the leader of the secondary, obviously with Darrelle Revis gone now, the safety spoke, and so did Matthew Slater. Matthew Slater called Tom Brady the heart and soul of this team. That hasn't changed. We are family within these doors of Gillette Stadium.
Well, I think right around the corner, when you look at the players' entrance, it's changed over the years, and the stadium has kind of grown and evolved and moved a little bit, but the sign still says, ignore the noise. And I think when you consider the history of this franchise, you consider everything that they've gone through over the last decade plus, I think the record says no one ignores the noise better than the Patriots. And I think they're going to have a new challenge this year. It's going to be very interesting to see how they decide to rise to the challenge. But hearing from Devin McCourty today, hearing from Matthew Slater today, certainly leads you to believe that this group, at least the core of this group, right now as we sit here at the start of training camp, is up to the challenge.
Well, the weather is certainly cooperating for Bill Belichick. He wants to get this team in condition and get them up to speed right away. We expect temperatures in the 90s all week long here in FOXBORO. Here on Wednesday, Chris, the conditioning drills took place. Tomorrow will be the first official day, Thursday, of training camp, and then we're off to the races. It'll be the Green Bay Packers here on Gillette Stadium on August 13th. Can't wait. Follow all the coverage on WEEI and WEEI.com. Christopher Price, outside Gillette Stadium. I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.